All right, guys, just putting the finishing touches to our show at 9:30 tomorrow. Join us. Okay, so I'm just writing up the article now, making sure everything's okay, just going over the final details. We're going to be talking about nowhere to go. You've found a buyer but can't find a home. What now? And this will ultimately be a masterclass. This is the four of us. This is Perry, this is Jimmy, this is myself, and Alicia. So we're coming on to speak about this very subject. It is very emotive just now because a lot of people don't want to put the house on the market because they're terrified at the fact that they'll leave themselves homeless. Let me make you understand. That will never happen if you don't want it to. It is practical impossibility. Every single person that we've sold for has always had somewhere to go. They've always had that choice. It's never been ever a case that they've been left with nowhere to go. It's impossible. So we're going to talk about this tomorrow on the Fife Property Show at 9:30 tomorrow morning. So come on to our social media pages. We're talking about it live. If you've got any questions, please feel free to contact us. This gives me the bigger picture about, this is all about fear at the end of the day. I mean, fear is a great indicator. But you've got to remember, you've got to embrace the thing. I mean, sooner or later, you'll experience fear when you start taking new actions at new levels. In fact, if you aren't, then you're probably not doing enough of the right things. Fear isn't a bad thing, and it isn't something to avoid. Conversely, if you want something, you actually need to seek and embrace it as a result. Fear is actually a sign that you're doing something what's needed to be done to move you in the right direction in the process of your overall goals achievements. An absence of concerns, well, really signals that what you're doing is only comfortable for you. And you know what happens? I mean, really, if you're comfortable in what you're doing, the reality is you've done it before. And guess what? If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. Does that make sense? Because if you did the same thing day in, day out, and you've always got what you've got now, why would you be able to keep doing it again? And why would you expect something different? That's the key here. As strange as it may sound, you may want to be scared until you have to push yourself to new levels of experience of fear again in order to make that happen if you feel comfortable all the time. In fact, the only thing that scares me is the complete lack of fear. So what is fear anyway? I mean, what is it all about? Does it exist? Is it real? I know mostly fear feels real when you're experiencing it. But admit it, most of the time, your fear doesn't even occur. And it's been said that really, fear stands for false expectations appearing real. I'll say that again. False expectations appearing real. F-E-A-R, fear. Which aptly implies that most of what you're afraid of actually doesn't even come to pass. Fear, for the most part, is provoked by the emotions, not by rational thinking itself. And it may, and I mean, in my humble estimation, emotions are widely overrated in the whole process, and the scapegoat for many people to use as their failure to act in the first place. But regardless of whether you agree with my opinion on my emotions, you must reframe the understanding of fear itself and use it for a reason to move forward rather than an excuse to stop and retreat in your tracks. Using it frequently, avoiding feeling is a green light to signal that you should do in yourself. Chances that when you were a child, well, here's the reality of this. Chances are when you were a child, you found fear in irrational things. The boogeyman under the bed, the ghosts in the cupboards. Just as an example, it was an indicator to check your closet or under the bed before you went to bed at night, before you put the light out. Now remember, there was never anybody under your bed ever. There was never anybody in the cupboard ever. But in your head, that existed. That is fear in itself. It does not exist really. It's false expectations appearing real. Adults have their own boogeyman or ghosts or whatever it is. The unknown, rejection, failure, successes, and so on. And these should be a sign to take action as well. When you become fearful of something, that's when you need to take action. That's when you need to go for it. That's when you need to just go, I'll get it done. It's not the time to run away. Here's an example. you're afraid to call someone, then it's a sign that you should call them anyway. Fear of speaking with the boss is an indication that you should probably just march into his office and blurt it out there and then and get it over and done with. Fear of requesting a client's business means that you must ask for the business there and then keep asking as a result. This rule compels you to separate yourself from everyone else in your market, in your area, in your business, in your employers, in the work that you're at just now, or in any organization that you work in just now. And you do that by, well, we'd obviously emphasized it earlier, by doing what others really refuse to do. I will do what others will not to achieve what others cannot. I live by that all the time. If you do something that no one else will do, you'll achieve something that no one else will achieve. Only in this way you will distinguish yourself and dominate your sector overall, or whatever you want to dominate itself. Everyone experiences fear at some level. And because the marketplace is composed of people interacting with both products and one another, the market will face fear in the same way as you do with your peers, and your peers do as well. Remember, everybody goes through fear. Some people just take action, while other people don't. That's the only difference. And it's all down to here. But rather than seeing fear as a sign to run, as most other people in the market will do, it must become your indicator to go for it. I handle this dilemma all the time by omitting the time from the equation. Think about this, okay? So you omit the time from the equation in this. So what was I saying before? Time always drives fear. It's the procrastination that stops you in the first place. And then all these false expectations start to blast into your mind. They start to go over and over again, and they start going over. You've done it. Hey, if you're laughing at this point in time with me, because you're laughing with me, you're not laughing at me, because you understand completely, and I do as well, that time is what kills it, because the fears all start to go in, and your false expectations start to roll over in your mind. And that's what happens. So what do you do? Well, you just get on and do it. You take action straight away. And it starves fear of its favourite food, which is time, by removing it completely. But let's take an example. Jim needs to contact a client. The task immediately causes him to feel anxious as a result. So rather than picking up the phone and making the call immediately, I go and get a cup of coffee and think about what I'm going to do next. Lengthy contemplation only causes fear to grow as a result of that. And imagine all the ways the call could go, and some of them, they could go badly wrong. And terribly wrong, what could happen. I'm confronted with, he's likely to say that he doesn't need to prepare before he makes the call. I mean, the reality is, right, here's a classic example. 2 or 3 days ago, someone called me when I was coming outside at Upper Largo, and it was to do with Green Deal. And I actually said to the person, look, I'm not really sure if I'm the right person you should be speaking to. And then all of a sudden, the phone got cut off. Now, this is a salesperson. What they should have done straight away is they should have lifted the phone back up, dialed it, and says, oh, we must have got cut off. That's genuinely what happened. But they never ever called me back because they assumed that I cut them off more than likely. And they've lost it. They could have had a sale. That's the reality. It's the people that keep on going and lifting the phone and calling back all the time and relentless. And even when they get a no, it's still a yes waiting to happen. That is ultimately people that win at what they do in anything they do. Remember, false expectations appearing real. Only one thing can happen in this conversation, and time will tell. But the quicker you do it, the better it is. Here's a classic example about this again. You run to the front of the beach, to the sea. Do you dip your toe in the water to see how cold it is first? Hell no. Do not do that, because you know what's coming next. It's Baltic. And then you proceed in your mind to think of 50 different ways it's going to be absolutely freezing before you jump in that water. Whereas the other person runs right past you, the wee bairn, and goes, yeehaw, dive bombs into the water. And you go, pretty embarrassing, eh? Yeah, and that's what you should have done in the first place. So what do you think I do when I'm faced with some mineral water? I just go, yeehaw, and dive bomb in. Because you're in and out, and it's the same when you run into the sea and you get halfway up, and you go, oh my goodness, and you run back out, and it's absolutely freezing. It takes ages to run back in. Well, just run back in and start swimming about. That's the most important thing. So if you're ever faced with fear in any situation, you must embrace it as a positive emotion and say, it's the time to do it. If you're fearful, you must do it. Nothing happens without action, remember. Fear doesn't just tell you what to do, it tells you when to do it. Because it acts, it comes up with fear. So that means do it now. So program your mind. Fear, do it now. Ask yourself what time it is at any point in the day, and answer is always the same. Now. What time is it today? What time is it right now? Now. 5 minutes time. What time is it right now? Now. The time is always now to get up and do something. And when you experience fear, it's a sign it's the best time to take action. And it's at that very moment you should take action as a result. Most people will not follow through with their goals, or even the time has passed from the inception of the idea actually to do something about it. However, if you remove time from your process, you'll be ready to go straight away. There's simply no other choice than to act in this process. There's no need to prepare. It's too late for that once you've gotten this far. Why do you think I love doing lives? It's live, exactly right now. You're in the moment. You have to do it. You're forced to get on with it. There's no fear involved because it's now. Now, the only thing that will make a difference is actually action, and that's what we're doing. Everyone has had the experience of failing to do something they wanted to do. Perhaps by the time you've gotten ready to do something else has actually taken action as a result, and you're now regretting doing it in the first place. Classic example. Tom Stoltzman wins the World's Strongest Man. I message him straight away and goes, we need to do a show about autism because he has autism. He goes, that's fantastic. Let's do that. 3 months down the line, it's gone all Hollywood. It's no happening. It's no doing it now. And yet at that moment in time, if I had acted, it would have been done and dusted. So no point in regretting it. Just do it. Get on with it. Failure comes in many forms and it occurs whether you act or not. That's the reality, regardless of the outcome. And I would say it's far preferable to fail while actually doing something than actually fail by over-preparing while someone else walks up and scoops away your dreams as a natural result of what you're doing. I mean, this scenario occurs in business every single day. People give their fears much more time than they actually deserve in the process. They wait to make the personal visit or the phone call, write the email, present the proposal because they're afraid of the outcome. Countless individuals share the same excuses of why it is not a good time to take action in the process. The client is leaving town. The client has just got back into town. EastEnders might be on. I better no phone at 7 o'clock. 9 o'clock is too late now. It's like, oh, they might be at their lunchtime because it's 1 o'clock. I better wait till after that. There's endless excuses. You could tell me, for example, and I could say, that's probably number 57. And that's excuse number 9. I've heard them all before. I've done them all before. Fear is conquered by action. Straight away. Do it now. The time is always now. Clients have just been in meetings all day long. They're about to go into meetings again. They're cutting it back. Business is bad. Every excuse under the sun. We've heard it all before. Maybe you could come up with some suggestions. I'd be interested to hear all the excuses that you've heard before about people that procrastinate because of fear. Let's hear it. Write them down in the comments. Let's hear them. We might even read them out. It'll be fantastic to read them out. There's been a change in management of staff. I don't want to bug them. Oh, I don't want to annoy them. I say every single time, the people that get the results are the people that take action. The amount of people that actually don't approach me, and yet the very few people that do approach me actually get the success, they get action, they get the result, and they've won in the process. I admire people with great admiration that just take action and get on with it. Very, very good quality to have. They never, and no one else can sell them. They're unrealistic. All these excuses under the sun, all the excuses in the world won't change one simple fact. The fear is a sign to do whatever it is you actually fear. I'll say that again. The fear itself is a sign to do whatever else you fear. And do it quickly. I mean, friends tell me all the time that I seem actually fearless. The truth is actually quite contrary. I'm scared of most things all the time. However, I refuse to fuel my fear with any time and allow it to get stronger in the process. I opt instead to do things quickly and get it done. I've learned that simply it's better for me to take this approach, and you'll experience the same when you finally are able to take the plunge and do what you actually fear. In fact, you'll be amazed at how much stronger you become and how much more confident you are in the newer things that you actually do from then on. So take massive action quickly and repeatedly, and that will ensure you appear fearless in any marketplace. People are naturally attracted towards people like this because they're fearless, or they seem to be fearless as a result, and they want to do business with you as a result of that. The person who takes action on whatever he or she fears the most will be the person who advances in his or her cause the most. Think about history. It's done us all. Martin Luther King, he was probably fearful of everything, but look what he achieved in his life. Look at all these presidents that have come before, just stood up to the plate, gone with it. They're bound to have been fear. They're bound to have fear, but they've chosen to overcome their fear and get on with it. The rest of the marketplace will submit to anxiety. That's what other people do. They prepare unnecessarily for false expectations appearing real, and you've got a job to do. That's the reality. Fear is one of the most disabling emotions a human can ever experience. Fear is one of the most disabling emotions a human can experience. It immobilizes people. And often it ultimately prevents us from going for our goals as a result and our dreams. Imagine just giving up your dreams because of fear. And yet fear doesn't exist. It's only up here. Everyone fears something in life. I'll guarantee you that. However, it's what we do with that fear that distinguishes us from others in the process. When you allow fear to set you back, you lose energy, momentum, confidence. Your fears will only grow as a result. The mental monsters will grow and they'll take over. Remember, they don't exist. And time will kill it. Time will keep it going. It will kill your dreams. You have to take action straight away. Have you ever watched some kind of performer, beating fire, for example? It appears that the trick is to completely exhaust the oxygen that requires the fire to be extinguished. And if you pull away too early, the oxygen actually refuels the fire. And then often, of course, it will burn you. The same's true of fear. If you back off from it, even the slightest bit in the process, you'll give it oxygen it needs to stay alive. So commit yourself entirely to remove time from the equation, and you will snuff out your fears and be able to take more action in the process. Eat your fears. Yeah? Eat your fears. Just eat it up. Lap it up. Take it on board. Don't feed them by backing off or giving them time to grow in your head. Learn to look at it for what you use fear, so you know exactly what you need to do to overcome it and advance in your life itself. Every successful person I know has used fear as an indicator to determine which actions they will provide the greatest return in the process. I remember when I first started out in buy-to-let 30 years ago, I was terrified. But what I did was I just took action in the process. I tested it with one property. The model worked very well, and the rest is history. I proved the model. I proved the whole thing. It was like a McDonald's system. I know how to duplicate it every single time. Duplicate, 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 duplicate every single time because I understand the process and the model, and I've become comfortable with it. That's the time of fear. But I do other things like this. I'm fearful when I do this. I use in my own life every chance I get, and to remain aware that I'm growing and expanding myself. If you aren't experiencing fear, you're not taking new actions or growing in the process. And I'm going to wrap this up. It's as simple as that. It does not take money or luck to create a great life. It requires the ability to move past your fears and with speed and power in the process. Fears like fire. It's not something from which you should be pulled away. Rather, it should be used to fuel the actions of your life. What things do you need to do in your life? Write them down. What are your 3 biggest fears? Whom do you fear contacting who could help you improve your business? What did you learn about what I just spoke about? I'd be interested to know. Write it down here. Share it with a friend. Tag a friend. Like the page. Give me a comment. Or even just message me direct and tell me what your biggest fear is and what you're going to do to overcome it today. Now. Notice I didn't say tomorrow. Now. Take action. That's the only way you'll ever do it. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye for now.